Hello and welcome to another video. In today's video we're going to be continuing on with our Bolens sleeve hitch project and seeing how far we can get with the two outstanding jobs, which are making a replica of this pin here and also the lift lever. In the last video, we finished off the grip blasting on the actual sleeve hitch frame and then put some primer on that. And this morning we rubbed it down and put some more primer on, so that is drying outside at the moment. And we wanted to properly prepare that for paint, which is why we're doing so many coats of primer and the rubbing down before the coat we put on today. Also, in the last video, we spent quite a lot of time making up one of these brackets, and that has also had another coat of primer today, and that is also drying outside. So that is those parts. Looking forward to today then, the biggest challenge we're probably going to have is the lift lever, because the one we need to make up for our new sleeve hitch is actually different dimensions to the one that we have here for our old sleeve hitch, because we've discovered that they are different models, which if I demonstrate the size difference between the two, these are identical parts but from the two different ones. You can see on our new one, this hole and this part as a whole is bigger. Now the pin which goes in here, that is 5/8 in diameter. As you can see when I put that in there, that is the correct size to go in there. So at least we've worked out what material needs to go in there, and we do have some 5/8 stock here which we'll be using for our lift lever. But otherwise we're a tiny bit in the dark in terms of measurements, but we do have a plan. When we originally shipped over our first sleeve hitch from the US, we had someone helping us with that. This Michael from West Virginia. He's one of our Bolens friends from America, who we met over the Bolens forums online, and he helped us ship this over, which was very helpful. And a while ago, Michael made up his own replica sleeve hitch, and he was helpful enough to put all of the stuff into a PDF file and put that on the forums so that anyone else that wanted to do the same thing for their tractors could follow his measurements and stuff on the file, which, as you can see on the picture here, it is the same type as our one because it has a thicker part there, which is the same as our new one. So we are going to go to the relevant page here, and you can see that is the drawing of the lift lever. It's a tiny bit grainy, so some of the letters and numbers are a tiny bit unclear, but I think we can work out everything we need from there, and that should help us a lot when it comes to make up a replica lift lever for our new sleeve hitch. However, we're going to start the day with the easier job, which is making up a replica of this pin. First thing we need to do to make up this pin is to cut a piece of our 5/8 bar, which we've marked out 9.5, or not 9.5, 9.25 inches, which is a bit over what we think the length should be. But we discovered that our saw isn't actually cutting straight, so we've just spent a bit of time adjusting this, and we'll face both ends in the lathe once we've done that too, which is why we've left a bit of excess from what we actually think it should be. So let's get this cutting. Still wasn't very straight, so we now have our piece of material in the lathe now, and we're going to face off both sides so then we can have flat finish on both ends. So let's get going. 45-degree angle on one end. The taper on this end is a lot smaller than the other end. The other end has to be quite a long taper with a shallower angle. So we'll do this one with this piece of tooling, and then we'll switch tooling for the next one. Now to cut the big angle on this end, we did some measuring. Now we found out that that angle is 15 degrees, and when we tried to find out the difference between the outside diameter of here and the outside diameter of the end, it was quite difficult because, as you can see, on parts of this is burred out and other bits it's not, so it made it very difficult to measure. And when we actually did get an alright measurement, we've realised that it's almost as if they've done it randomly. There's no imperial fraction that really matched on the end. So instead of doing an exact measurement on the end of the workpiece that we would have marked on here, ideally, we've marked on there where we need to go out to on the angle along here. And then effectively we're just going to move this further and further in until the point where we exit the metal is at that line, at which point we'll stop. We've never actually had the tool post at an angle like this before. This is the first time we've ever done something like that, but let's start cutting this angle. We've now finished putting the angle on here. We did switch cutters midway through. As you can see, we've now got this one with the two 45-degree angles on there. That's because we didn't think this one here has enough relief at the 15-degree angle we were cutting to actually cut very well, and that cut a lot nicer with the different attachment in there when we switched them over compared to when we had the first one. Now that we've done that angle on both ends, we are ready to mark out where we want to make our bend and then put it in the hydraulic press and bend it. We now have our bit of bar in the press here, and we're using a bit of tooling that we first made up when we were bending the stub axle for the Moto Standard. Now this isn't the final design that we used a bigger one in the end, but seeing as this is around 16mm diameter, whereas the stub axle is 20, we're hoping that this should bend our bit of bar here just fine. So let's get going. We've now finished the pin, and you can see there is a bit of a witness mark in the centre there from the bender in the press, but if you look on the other one, it's pretty much identical to one on the original pin, and the same on the outside. There's mark there, mark there, mark there, and a mark there. You can't really see them that well on the outside on this one because obviously it's rusty, but now the new one works as it should do, and that can then be cleaned up and ready for primer, and then we can start on the lift rod. Now to cut off our length of bar for the lift rod, and we've done tons more messing around with the bandsaw, and it's still not exactly straight, but what can we do? Not a lot at the moment, so we're going to cut it at the slight angle that it's at the moment and hope it doesn't make too much difference. Do is make the bend on our piece of rod for the lift rod here, and we've printed out the relevant page from the PDF, and as you can see, to get the bend to the right place it needs to be 5 inches from here to here and then 7/8 down. Now really, to mark out where it needs to go, you need to do the Pythagoras theorem to find out the length of there, which we think is about 5.075 inches, which we've marked out on our piece of bar. And to help us get the right profile, we've just drawn out on here 5 inches and then 7/8 going up there. And effectively, once we've bent it, if it's in the right place, our bar should just kind of link up the 2 points like that. And something we did notice about going the part where it goes down by 7/8, that is less than our one here. That's pretty much along the edge of the table, and you can see that's about 1.5 inches that goes down. However, we're going to trust the drawing and put this in the press and press it to the right amount. Same tooling as before, but we've had to put it at a slight angle just because of the length of the bar. But let's get to bending this. Skipping ahead a bit here, and this is now bent properly. You may have noticed when I was bending it, it was more bent than this, and we did have to bend it back a tiny bit because I overestimated how much that it needed to be bent by, and it's really not that much to get that 7/8 change between here and there, but that works out fine on our piece of paper. Then the next thing to do was to make up the part that goes on the end here, and we cut out this square here, and we drilled that with a 7/16 drill bit, and we've kind of tapered those bits so that we can weld it onto the end here. And then once we've welded it, our intention is to get grinding discs on the angle grinder and possibly some files to do all the shaping to get it to a nice edge like the end of this one. And then by the looks of the time, we'll be pretty much out of time once we've done all of that. But let's see how we go, starting off with this welding. We now have that part welded on, and unfortunately we are rapidly running out of time. We were hoping to shape that today, but I don't think we're going to have time for that now, so that's probably the last job we'll be able to do. In the next video, or upcoming videos, we need to shape this. Then we need to make up a bit of pipe to go onto here as a stopper, and then drill the holes, and then that is the lift rod done. Then that, the pin, and this part all need to be grit blasted, covered in primer, and then every single part we've made up needs to be painted, and then we will be done with the project. So unfortunately we are out of time, so we can't progress anymore today. It's not necessarily quick progress, but it's definitely steady, as we've got a couple of the parts taking shape just from our work today. But that is it for this video. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.